The cafeteria of the Galactic Union Academy smelled like 17 kinds of wrong. Sierra Voss had learned to ignore it by the third week. She sat at the end of the long table, tray balanced on her knees, watching the twin suns of Kelvara set through the viewport like a pair of dying embers. She was the only human in intake cohort 7. She was also, as far as the rest of the cohort was concerned, the least interesting thing about the room. "She does it again," said Drix. Drix was Torathi, six-limbed, copper-scaled, loud in the way only creatures with 3 vocal cords could be. He was sitting 3 seats down with his usual cluster of admirers, and he was looking at Sierra the way most Torathi looked at things they found mildly disgusting. "Every meal," he continued, "she just sits there, alone, starring." Cadet Lysine, a willowy Fivari with bioluminescent freckles she clearly spent too much time thinking about, leaned in. "I read the intake file. She listed combat experience. Combat. She is from Earth. What does a dirt world primate know about combat?" Drix let out a sound like a Stepton instrument. Laughter. "They still use asterisk chemical propellant asterisk weapons on that planet. Their ships run on asterisk controlled explosions. I am not inventing this." More laughter. Sierra heard all of it. She had good ears. Humans usually did when they'd spent enough time listening for things that wanted to kill them. She ate her nutrient pack and said nothing. The combat simulation module ran every Thursday cycle. The Academy used it to assess instinct, not knowledge, not training doctrine, just the raw read of a cadet under pressure. The scenarios were randomized. The pain feedback was set to 30% real, enough to sting, enough to make you flinch. Instructor Vale ran the module. She was old Kavhari, gray-ridged and patient in the way of someone who had watched 1,000 cadets convince themselves they were ready. She had a habit of standing very still when something surprised her. She stood very still now. The scenario was a hostage extraction. 3 friendly units pinned in a collapsing structure, 6 hostile contacts, 1 exit point with a 72-second window before the simulation called structural failure. Standard difficulty. Most cadets cleared it in 2 attempts. The record was a single clean run by a Torathi prodigy 3 years ago. Cadet Voss had cleared it in 41 seconds. Not by brute force, not by superior firepower. She had moved the hostiles first, used the structural collapse as cover, pushed 1 contact into suppressing another, drawn 2 more toward a sound she'd created at the opposite end of the grid, and extracted all 3 friendly units through a route that technically wasn't the exit but functionally worked better. The simulation hadn't even registered what she was doing until she was already done. Vale reviewed the footage 3 times. Then she pulled Sierra's file. Not the intake file, the asterisk real asterisk file, the one with the clearance flags and the redacted blocks, and the note at the top that said identity protected per Union Security Directive 7 Kale. She read it once. Then she went to find Commandant Oris. Drix found out on a Friday. It wasn't a dramatic reveal. No one made an announcement. He simply happened to be in the corridor outside Commandant Oris's office when Instructor Vale walked out, and he overheard 2 words before the door sealed. "Reach 7. He knew what Reach 7 was. Everyone in the galactic military community knew what Reach 7 was. It was the engagement 3 years ago at the edge of the Thornville Nebula. A Union convoy ambushed by Kreth separatists, 17 ships, 3,000 crew, and exactly 1 human rapid response unit that had been in the wrong system at the right time. The Kreth had outnumbered them 4-1. The human unit had held the line for 11 hours until Union reinforcements arrived. Not with superior ships, not with numbers. With asterisk improvisation, they'd used debris fields as cover, rigged one of their own damaged freighters as a decoy beacon, and launched a boarding action on the Kreth command vessel with a team of 9 soldiers. They had taken the bridge in under 7 minutes. The commanding officer of that unit had been awarded the Union Star of Valor. Her name had been sealed afterward, her own request, reportedly. She'd declined the ceremony. She'd declined the promotion. She'd asked instead to be enrolled in officer training under a quiet alias. To learn the parts of war she hadn't had time to learn, while she was busy surviving it. Drix stood very still in the corridor for a long time. Then he walked to the cafeteria. Sierra was at her usual spot, tray on her knees, watching the suns. Drix sat down across from her. This had never happened before. She glanced up, clocked his expression. He was trying for neutral and missing, and went back to her food. "Reach 7, he said. She didn't react, not visibly. "Was that you?" he asked. She took a slow breath. "Who's asking?" "I am." He paused. His copper scales shifted in the way Torathi scales did when they were uncomfortable. "I was asking for reasons that are not good. I want to be clear about that. I have said things in this cohort about humans, about you specifically." "I know." "Yes," he looked at his hands, all 6 of them. "I am attempting an apology. I am not very practiced." Sierra looked at him for a long moment. She had a very level look. The kind that came from watching people for tells, for threats, for the small signs that told you which way a situation was about to break. "Don't apologize," she said. He blinked. I don't want it." She set her tray down properly on the table. "You thought I was small, you thought I was weak. You thought my planet was primitive because we built things out of chemistry and fire instead of plasma and theory." She tilted her head. "We built it out of chemistry and fire because those were what we had, and we went to the stars anyway. And when the Kreth came with their 4-to-1 odds and their certainty, we didn't calculate our chances." Her voice was even, not angry. "Just certain, we just fought." Drix was quiet for a moment. "I would like to not be your enemy," he said finally. "You were never my enemy," she said. "You were just wrong." He absorbed that, and now you're less wrong." She picked up her fork. "Sit or go, either's fine." He sat. Lysine found them there 10 minutes later, and stopped so abruptly, she nearly tripped over her own feet. Drix didn't explain. He just moved his tray slightly to make room. Lysine stood in the aisle for a long moment, her bioluminescent freckles cycling through colors in a way that probably meant something in Fivari body language. Embarrassment, maybe, or recalculation. Then she sat down too. "I looked up your service record," she said to Sierra. "The parts that aren't sealed." "Okay," Sierra said. "You were 22. "Yes." "At Reach 7, you were 22 years old." 22 and a half, Sierra said. "I'd had a birthday in the Thornville. We didn't have cake." Lysine stared at her. Her freckles went very dim, which seemed to be the Fivari equivalent of speechless. "Why did you come here?" she asked at last. "After all of that, why come to a classroom?" Sierra was quiet for a moment. She looked at the viewport, at the twin suns now just a last orange line on the horizon of Kelvara. "Because winning a fight is one thing," she said. "Understanding * why you had to fight it, that's another. I was good at the first part." She paused. "I want to be better at the second." Neither Drix nor Lysine said anything for a while. Then Drix carefully said, "The simulation record, Thursday, 41 seconds. "The exit route they give you is inefficient," Sierra said simply. "It is the * designed route." "I know," she almost smiled. "Humans don't always use the designed route." Drix made the step-ton instrument sound again, but this time it was quieter, and it didn't feel like mockery. Outside, the last sun finished setting. The cafeteria filled with the ambient blue of Kelvara's artificial night cycle, and 3 cadets sat at the end of a long table, 1 human, 1 Torathi, 1 Fivari, eating in the particular silence of people who have just begun to understand each other. It wasn't a grand moment. No one gave a speech. No one saluted. But in the long history of the Galactic Union Academy, It was the first time anyone had ever broken the combat simulation record without the instructors noticing, until the run was already over. And the girl who'd done it was already thinking about Thursday.